When was the first time you got a message from someone that you weren't enough, and how did that affect you, at the time or even down the line?
That I wasn't enough?
Yeah.
Oh, girl. I got that growing up in the neighborhood I grew up in. I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood. We were one of one Black family. So there was a neighbor's yard that I wasn't even allowed to step foot on. So that told me, that something was wrong. And then going to school, one of my teachers was definitely racist, and another one of my teachers actually physically hit me. One of them, I had these coins from my dad that he had given me, and my dad wasn't in the house growing up because he was constantly working, and my mom and him were separated. And so these coins were very special to me, and my teacher took them from me and put them in the June box, even though I wasn't doing anything wrong. They were coins. They weren't like toys,
Yeah.
And at the end of the year, when we were claiming our things, another girl said that they were hers. Another young white girl said that they were hers. And I was like, no, those are mine. They're from my dad. She's like, no, they're mine. Oh. And my teacher was like, well, they must be Brittany's, and gave them to her. And the girl took them, and 4 years later, she gave them back to me. She's like, I'm really sorry. And I'm like,
are you kidding?
And so there was a lot of examples of racism in the neighborhood I grew up. The simplest, if I had a crush on a little boy, well, obviously where I lived, I looked very different than them. And the girls in school would conspire to steal him from me. So I would just break up with him because I just didn't want to go through that.
Yeah.
And so I got that messaging a lot. But the weird thing is maybe somewhere deep down inside, there is that feeling where it's just I'm not quite sure, because I feel more than enough. I just don't always feel enough for other people, but I feel more than enough for myself. And I think that's what has sustained me. And it's kind of a theme I've always lived by, where it's it hurts when you're not enough for someone else when you care, or especially if you love them,
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's kept me sane is I know that I'm enough inside of me. I like me a lot. Even where I'm a work in progress, which is a lot of places, I still like me and I still love me. And I still feel good enough. I just don't always feel good enough for other people. And so having that, to be able to differentiate between the two and at least have this to hold on to, has really kept me stable. And then, you go into this business and people are constantly judging every part of you. And then, you get, for me, I get into my 20s, then you've got all the, bosses and media takeouts. And at that time, that's not when they were nice.
Yeah.
And even though the comments, majority would be nice, there'd be those few that just made you feel like people don't think you're enough.
Yeah.
And then from that, to being married to a man in ministry, and, and I mean, just, there's constantly been themes in my life where people have tried to tell me that I'm not enough. And I thank God that he has always made me feel that I'm enough, because he says that I'm enough. So just, it doesn't make it hurt me less, but it makes it manageable to say, okay, here's emotion, or here's emotion, and here's reality. And I have to focus on the reality, and I have to focus on what I know and what God says, not what other people say.
Yeah.